imagine. It remains a very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatton! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue match preview. This is against Hull City, this one, which we're playing on Saturday. We have got a game tomorrow against West Brom at the Hawthorns. And obviously Hull have got I can't think if it's a home or away, to be fair. When we get Antin, I'll ask him. But they've got a game against Watford as well. So obviously anything that we talk about tonight are subject to change. Depending on injuries and suspensions and things like that as well that might happen. So before I do bring Antin, who is my guest, just remember where you can find us. We are on X or Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're on YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. There's a lot of videos on there now. We are also on podcasts. Please go and rate us 5 stars. If you don't watch us and you just listen to us, you can find us on Amazon, Spotify, and anywhere else that you get your podcasts from. We're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. His logo's in the corner. He can do your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. We're partnered with, the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena and the Tavern in town, the Sky Blue Tavern in town. Now, if there is a little bit of background noise, I apologise now. There is a darts competition going on next door. Hopefully you won't hear them and they'll be a bit quiet. So they know I'm in here recording anyway. So yeah. So I am without Mark again. Mark can't make it. So it's just me. So without further ado, I'll bring Antin from the Hull and Back podcast. Good evening, Ant. How are you?
I am fine. Well, I'm fine personally as a football fan. Yeah, I'm in a bit of pain.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. Obviously, we've been through similar, very recently. Lampard's been in charge now for 2 games, drawn 1, won 1, which is unbeaten. So we can't really argue too much. The performances have slowly gotten better. Second half against Millwall was much better than the first half. We came out and we attacked. So hopefully, going into the West Brom game tomorrow and obviously the Hull game against you guys on Saturday, we'll hopefully get better and better. So I'm expecting hopefully good things and big things for the game on Saturday. So obviously, things have happened with you as well, much more recently than us over the past few days. Tim Walker's gone and Ruben Selles has come in. How are you feeling about the change? Are you happy with it? And what do you expect from the change?
Yeah, I think the entire fan base, I think even all the players, they're really thrilled that it's happened because Tim Walter, as much as we wanted that sort of exciting heart attack, what has been branded as kind of football. 4-3 games, thrilling end-to-end basketball almost, if you want football games that we were promised. We certainly did not get under Tim Walter. And he came across as, especially towards the end, as a very detestable guy. He was very defensive. It was very, my way is perfect. And the only reason that we're not getting results is because the players can't do it. But my argument always would be is a manager should never play a system that the players can't do. You should always accommodate based on what you've got. And that's something he would not do. He didn't really have a relationship with the fans. He lost the fans really at Portsmouth at home when he sort of questioned the levels of support and things like that, which he should never do as a club manager. No. But it's just a failure to try and change anything really. I think that was the problem. And when you're losing, when you're seeing the exact same thing game upon game and you can predict what's going to happen before you even turn up and then it happens, there's clearly an issue because if the fans can see what's happening, why can't the manager? It was a long time overdue. I think he should have probably gone before the international break, certainly in the international break. The owner kept backing him. I'm not entirely sure if he was actually aware as to how toxic the atmosphere was changing. But he attended the Sheff Wednesday game at home, which we obviously lost 2-0. Saw the reaction of the fans in the stadium there, which was pretty much we want Volter out from the first minute. Made the decision after the game to get rid of him and bring in an appointment that I think I'd certainly said on my podcast I wanted from the start if it wasn't Mark Robbins, which obviously you guys quite could have gladly given us as a gift. It could have been someone like Ruben Sellers or Stephen Schumacher, someone that's got experience in the English league to try and turn the fortunes around. But with Sellers, it's a case of he's at a Reading club that are in financial straits. They've had points deductions year upon year. They've not really signed anybody since 2021 because of transfer embargoes. And he's got them in the top six. The only new players they've been able to add to the team are their youth academy. He's in a very competitive League One that's got, the likes of Birmingham, Wrexham, Stockport, Bolton. There's loads of teams in there that could, be in the promotion mix, and he's got them in sixth place, considering. Plays really nice football. They played us in a friendly pre-season and they ripped us apart. I mean, that's quite evident from this season. Wasn't difficult to do, but Reading did do that. And I always thought, he plays really nice football. I'm quite envious that Reading have got a manager like him that plays that style. And now we've got him. So, yeah, I'm quite happy that we've shown a bit of ambition and gone for a manager that was employed, took that risk and that gamble for what could be a long-term, hopefully long-term appointment that's for the next 2 or 3 years. Starting with his first game tomorrow at home to Watford, it's a massive chance to just come straight in, get a home win, which is something we've been struggling for. We've only won 3 times, this calendar year at home. So that's something immediately that needs to be changed around, and he's got a great opportunity to do that. So yeah, we're all excited again.
Well, that's obviously that's good. Obviously, I was going to ask about Mark Robbins. Was he at the forefront of a lot of people's? Because obviously he's slightly different to Leon Rosenior. Going back to Leon Rosenior a little bit before we come into Mark Robbins, what was the fan base like when he left? Because for me, that he was up. There was 2 managers when Robbins did get the sack. There was 2 managers that I would have wanted, and that was Michael Carrick and Leon Rosenior for what he did to you guys. What was the general consensus at the start of the season when Leon did go?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. You probably get a different answer depending on what Hull City fan you speak to. I think we were all desperate for it to work out with him here, with his connection to the club, his family connection. He'd been here as a player, and like we say, he was a young up and coming coach that came here and was backed by an ambitious owner. It seemed like the perfect sort of partnership, really. And like you say, he took us from, he saved us from the last mess with an inexperienced foreign coach under Shota Arveladze, made us stay up comfortably, and then had us finish 7th the season after. So on paper, it looks like a very, very bizarre sacking. But however, within the fan base and for the fans that had to watch us week in, week out, for the most part, especially at home games, we were a tough watch. It was, we had fantastic players last season. I mean, look, half of them now are ripping it up in the Premier League. Look at Liam Delap, Jacob Green, Jaden Philogene now playing Champions League football with Aston Villa. You've got Ozan Tufan, we sold back to Turkey. Aaron Connolly, we released. All our goals, all our creators, all gone. Fabio Carvalho went to Brentford for 30 million. These are the kind of talent that we had last season, and we didn't make the top 6. Only winning 3 of our last 13 was the pretty much what ended the season. But losing like Delap for 6 months probably was a big part of that. But then you've also got the team selection problems where he persisted playing someone like Ryan Alsop in goal, who was statistically the worst goalkeeper in the league with his errors and the amount of points he cost us. So there was, issues with team selection and formations and substitutions, but you're going to get that. You understand you're going to get that with a young coach who's inexperienced and he's naive. But his persistence, I think, that pushed him out of the Hull City boat, if you want to say, was how he just stuck to his ideology or his way of playing was very safety first, possession based. It was, I'd much rather you turn around, pass the ball and start again than take a risk and try and score. He was very afraid of losing. And I think with the kind of talent that we had, that was, maybe the wrong way to go about it, especially towards the end of the season when results weren't, really happening for us. that he needed to take the shackles off and just let our attacking players, have the freedom to do what they wanted to do best and hurt teams. But his stubbornness, I suppose, which was a fault of Walter as well this season, to a system that needed just tinkering, could have saved his job, and he persisted with it to the end, and that cost him his job in the end. I mean, we were really poor to watch at home last season. We were really dull. Away from home, he had us cracked. We were brilliant away from home. We got a lot of points, but at home we were. I could probably count on one hand the amount of times we had a decent game the entire season.
Okay.
So yeah, like I say, from a neutral perspective, it seemed shocking.
Yeah.
But from, I think, a lot of the City fan base, we were probably on the fence. If you'd have given him another 6 months or a year to try and change things or improve things, you'd have understood.
Yeah.
If you'd have got rid of him, you'd have understood. I mean, the problem was we got the replacement completely wrong, which makes it even worse. But yeah, no, it was a mixed reaction.
Okay, fair enough. And then going on to Mark Robins, obviously he was sacked by Coventry just before the international break. We had a game against Sunderland, which Reece Carr took charge of. Obviously, it was a shock to obviously the Coventry fans. Some of us are still gutted that it's happened. Obviously, we're behind Lampard because obviously he's been put in place now. But was Mark Robins? Was he at the top of people's wish lists, or was he just a name because of what he's done for Coventry City?
I think he was at the top of a lot of people's. I think even with me, in terms of providing stability, steadying the ship, which is desperately what we need at the minute, a manager that could, potentially have something for the next few years and progressively build on something, he would have made sense. What he did with Coventry, taking them from League Two to the Championship, vast majority of that not even in their home ground. The job he did at Coventry was absolutely fantastic. But then you also look at, our owners got ambitions of the Premier League. And despite the job that Robins did at Coventry, they finished in the top six and, were unluckily lost out in the playoffs. But since then, spent quite a bit of money on some really good players and haven't really progressed. I think that's fair to say. You've actually regressed, if anything, because you've not finished in the top six again since. Yeah. When you're looking at that as an owner and thinking, is this guy obviously the one to take us to the Premier League? He hasn't proven that. So in that sense, maybe not. But in terms of stability and keeping you in the Championship, 100%. But I think there was a lot of names, there was a lot of managers available that you could go for, and it would make sense. Like I said, the Steven Schumacher. There was Sayers. You've got Bloomfield, who's doing a fantastic job at Wickham, who were top of the league in League One. You could have gone for. You've got Ryan Mason was named in there as well. You've got Slavisa Jokanovic. There was a lot of names. Alex Neil. There was a lot of really good managers that got Championship experience, or at least look like they're building something special and could continue that at a new club. But yeah, I think Robins would have been the vast majority of people. If you'd have hired him straight away, he should have been the one. But I also understand why they've gone for Sayers. I actually wanted Sayers as my number 2 behind Robins anyway. So we've gone for a direction of another young and upcoming coach with a very nice, attractive style of football that hopefully in the next 3 or 4 years cultivates a winning personality.
Yeah. Okay, going on to obviously our game on Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. Live on Sky, I believe it is as well. Or it's on Sky Plus channel.
Yeah,
or whichever.
Sky Plus, yeah.
So we haven't got the greatest history against you guys. In the last 6, you've won 3, we've lost 1, and we've drew 2. To be fair, though, most of the games, the three draws have been 1-1. And then the others, there's only been 1 goal in it. It's been 3-2 or 2-1 either side, I think it's been. So they've all been very, very close games. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Obviously, I've mentioned already Coventry against West Brom. You're at home tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, home against Watford.
Yeah, so home against Watford. Obviously, we don't know how Ruben says is going to set up. Is a very unknown sort of quantity with obviously the players of Hull and stuff. Are you going into our game confident, or do you think you've got the players there? How can I say it? Have you got the players there, do you think, to trouble us, and it just needs the right coach?
Yeah, I mean, I've said for the last few weeks that we are not we're certainly not a bottom 3 team, let alone 24th place where we find ourselves at the minute. We are a mid-table club. We wouldn't even with Rosinia this season, we wouldn't have been bothering the top 6 because we don't have enough goals in the team. That's something the owners taken accountability for. Transfers were done too late in the summer, etc. Didn't get the business done we needed, and now we're paying the price for it. But in terms of being solid, being able to keep possession and be creative, we are creating plenty of chances a game. Okay. We're just not putting them away is the problem. Like if you look back at our stats, you'll see there's plenty of shots. You look at the highlights, you'll see there's absolute sitters that we put over the bar or straight into the keeper's hands. So with slight, a bit more composure, a bit more quality in the final third, and we'd be nowhere near where we are. But that's the problem. We've got a very young team. I think outside João Pedro, who's 32, we don't have a player over the age of 28. So we've got a very young squad. There's got a lot of potential. Our 2 best wingers in Mohamed Baloumi and Liam Miller are out for the season with ACLs within a week of each other, which is incredibly unlucky. So we've struggled in that sense in to fill sort of that quality out wide. And then you've got the fact that we have only kept 1 clean sheet all season. So something with the previous system was an issue in terms of how open we were and how committed going forwards we were to, how open we left ourselves in that sense. The risk wasn't worth the reward because we weren't scoring goals, but we were always conceding. So we need to learn to shut the door. But we also need to learn to put the ball in the back of the net, or else it's going to be a really, really struggle. So I think we go into the game a lot more positive than we probably would have been under Volta because we knew exactly what we were going to get under Volta. We probably have plenty of the ball, do not much with it, and lose the game. But under Sayers, it's a bit of an unknown quantity now. Obviously, we don't know how tomorrow's game goes. But we know that with his time at Reading, he's a manager who's very pragmatic and he picks a style based on what he can get result-wise with his players and a system that works, playing attractive football. So I'm hoping that we get a win tomorrow to give us a bit of momentum. Then going away at Coventry, we can just go and try and pick up a point or something because realistically now we just need to kind of limp to the January transfer window and hope that we've built some sort of gap between where we are in the bottom 3 so that we're more lucrative for players to join in January instead of being 24th place and having to pay, an absolute premium to convince someone to come.
Yeah, obviously, we've kind of been in the same boat, ourselves a little bit. A lot, apart from Millwall just gone, where we managed to keep a clean sheet. The past 5 games, we've conceded 2 goals in each games. And we've been having to score 3 goals. We've been able to score 2. Scoring goals isn't necessarily our issue. It's, keeping the clean sheets and, like you said, locking up shop a little bit. But with under Lampard, especially the second half, we were better defensively. We were a little bit more settled. And we managed to keep that clean sheet. So, under Lampard, we are, I think, obviously, I don't know. Again, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I would be happy with a point against West Brom because they're a good side, and we haven't got a good record necessarily at the Hawthorns against them. So I'd be happy with a point. But coming into your game, because you are going on the back of, at the moment, 6 losses. Potentially, you might have a win under that or a draw or a loss. Again, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if it is going into 7 losses, then that's got to be playing on the player's mind slightly, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think his biggest challenge at the minute for Sayers is to pick the players' confidence up. Because it's been quite clear from the reign of Tim Volta that the players were not a fan of him. I mean, there was interviews from the likes of Louis Cole and Regan Slater during his reign that sort of pointed to suggest that he wasn't the most accommodating and open manager to talk to and to suggest things. Then since his sacking, obviously Casey Palmer and Mason Burstow have come out and said, look, we tried to speak to him, tried to say, what, Gaffer, why aren't I playing? Why can't we do this? And he just he'd have none of it. So when you're asking players to do a system they don't want to play and can't play, and then you're also not getting the results to back it, it's going to hammer their confidence. And like I said, they're a young team. So when you're lacking that bit of leadership or that bit of experience, that it can get to them a bit more. So, say as if he can come in and make the players believe in themselves a bit more, if we can grab a couple of goals tomorrow against Watford to just remind them that they can score goals. because we are creating them. Like I said, we're just not putting them in the back of the net. We create absolute sitters, and we just don't put them away and then give away soft goals. So if they can sort of believe in themselves, find a bit of composure and a bit of control in games, they'll start picking up points. That will come. So if he can just try and get a positive performance and result tomorrow, it gives us, like I said, that bit of momentum going into Coventry, and hopefully just put a run together and try and get away from the bottom three.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned Casey Palmer there. Obviously, we had seen the interview because most of us, follow Casey from his time at Coventry. A bit of a shock departure, something that nobody was really expecting at Coventry anyway. How has he settled in? Because for me, Casey, on his day, there was probably no one necessarily better than him, and I'm including O'Hare in that as well. On his day, it was just trying to find his day consistently enough to put that through. Have you found that the same, or how has he been not welcomed as such, but how has he settled in?
It's been tough for Casey because since bringing him in, and I think it's a signing, like you say, none of us really expected. It came out the blue. I remember seeing us the link or the story being posted that we were heavily after him, and it's looking like it was going to get done in the next couple of days. And it was like, oh wow, fair play. Where's that come from, kind of thing. Yeah. And he always had a good game against us. So us as fans, we were like, oh, we're getting a really good player here because he always pulled out the bag. I mean, he scored that phenomenal free kick against us last season as well. So you think, here we go, we're getting a lad who's creative, can score goals, and he's good at set pieces. And then we haven't really seen him. Tim Volter didn't really play him that often. I think whenever the thing I can say about him is whenever he's played, he's been easily one of our best players on the pitch, which made it more bizarre that he wasn't playing more often under Volter because in theory, as a manager, you'd want your most creative and best performing players on the pitch, but he seemingly didn't want that. I think we suffer sometimes when he goes on international duty with Jamaica, and obviously he's got that bit of jet lag, and he often gets benched for the game after that, which makes sense. But there's plenty of times he's come on off the bench and looked, our most creative player, the one who wants to drive us forward and do something. And the last couple of games under Dawson with interim charge, he's started immediately in that number 10 position. And despite us only scoring the one goal in the last two games, he has been that creative fulcrum, the one that everything goes through, and he's looked really good. And he actually got subbed off against Blackburn on the weekend to boos because he was our best player. We can't understand why he got took off. He was the only one who looked like he could sort of unlock that stubborn Blackburn defence, which a lot of teams admittedly have struggled with this season. And he got took off. So, but he's a player that I think with the run of games, I mean, he won us the game at Stoke away as well back in like one of our very rare wins this season. He was that main man that did that. And I think he's sort of taken on that I'm going to be the main man sort of persona for us this season. So I'm excited to see him play more often and see what he's fully capable of, because we definitely didn't see enough under Volter because he didn't play him.
Yeah, it's like I said with Casey, it's about consistency, and even when he had a run of games at Cov, he'd kind of drift in and out, but he is a player that will give everything on that pitch. But like I said, maybe for 10 minutes, 20 minutes in different segments of the game, he kind of goes missing a little bit. So I am gutted that he went. I would rather have kept him, if I'm honest. Look, I would imagine it's just going to be sod's law that he's going to score against us.
As it usually happens in former players.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, you are missing Carl Rushworth as well. You're missing Leon Miller, Andy Smith, and Cartwright. Were they going to be playing? Are they starters or are they fringe players?
Miller would have been. He was one of our sort of statement signings of the summer. Obviously, did really well with Preston last season. Brought him here for a couple of mil. Really, really surprised that we managed to convince him to come here of all teams in the Championship. But yeah, he was one of our best players, along with Balumi. They both within a week of each other got an ACL injury and were out for the season. So it just sort of compounded the misery at that point that our only two players that look capable of doing anything were now unavailable for the rest of the season. But Rushworth's a weird one because he was like statistically one of the best goalkeepers in the league last season at Swansea. And he was brought in, I would have guessed, to be the number one because he's a good goalkeeper, but also good with his feet. But then got injured pretty soon after joining us. But then again, the form of Ivor Panda in goal, who probably should have played the last 6 months of last season over Allsop, has been absolutely phenomenal and probably our player of the season so far. I think he's in the top 5 for goalkeepers in the league for goals prevented. He's done really, really well. Not really helped by the system in front of him, but he has had a lot of saves to make. But he's been great. So I think only really Miller and Bellumi were the ones that would be missing in terms of injuries. And like Andy Smith's a backup centre back, and Cartwright's like the 5th choice goalkeeper. So yeah, other than that, there's only the real 2 problem players in Miller and Bellumi that are going to be real misses.
Okay, fair enough. So threats from us. What do you see from us as being threats that you've seen from games on Sky and stuff and things like that? Have you got any questions for us from your point of view?
I'm a big fan of. I like the right back Van Eywick. I think he's a phenomenal player at this level. I think I'm very surprised actually he's still in the Championship. Obviously, Hadji Wright, Ellis Sims carry goal threat. Maybe not so much this season as you would have expected as a Coventry fan. I think last season, obviously, they were far better than they have been this year. Don't know what that's down to. You'll know more than me. But from an outside perspective, he's really good. Your Japanese winger, I've forgotten his name.
Sakamoto.
He looks phenomenal when he's on the ball, and I think whoever plays left back, especially if that's Giles, he's gonna have a very busy afternoon. So, and Giles isn't the best one-on-one defender either, so he might have a good evening. But it's Coventry have got players that as a team you'd look at and go top 6. But for some reason, it's just not really worked out since you didn't win in the playoffs that year. It just hasn't clicked again. But you find that with teams, I find that when you've been so close and you suffer that heartbreak as a club, even with new players, you struggle to get it back. Like, because the heartbreak of it, some players take it on board and they start questioning themselves and stuff. So yeah, but the thing is Coventry have got a team that if we give away the kind of chances that we used to under Tim Walter, I think if he'd have still been in charge, it'd have been a guaranteed 3 points for you guys, which obviously is bad news for you that he's gone. Because we gave away about 3 or 4 absolute sitters a game, which teams had put 2 of them away at least. But it's just a case of how, like you say, you guys are leaking goals, we're leaking goals. So with the new managers, is that going to be a new thing? Are we going to cancel each other out now and have a 0-0 just to be different?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of them. But Coventry, like I say, have got plenty of threat, and if we're not on our game for 90 minutes, then it won't be anything but a loss. So yeah, we've got to really be on point.
Yeah, obviously, I've mentioned Casey obviously being, consistency being the main word, and I've used that so much this season, even from the opening day against Stoke. We had such a good pre-season. We battered Everton, 4-0 pre-season, and then the first game against Stoke was just awful. We lost that 1-0 at their place. And from there on in, it's just been inconsistency. We've had the odd half that's been good. We've had the odd game that's been really good. We beat Middlesbrough at their place 3-0. And then afterwards, they absolutely battered the next 4 opponents 4, 5, 6-0, So it's just, for us, it's been, inconsistency. And Milan's been inconsistent. Our strikers have been inconsistent. Sakamoto's been inconsistent. Ben Sheaf's been inconsistent. It's just... Even, obviously Mark Robbins.
Sheaf's a phenomenal player as well. I forgot to mention him. I really like Sheaf.
We
had his brother Max, so we always say we got the wrong Sheaf.
But again, it's just been a season of inconsistency. So I'm hoping now, even behind the scenes, with Mark Robbins and AD leaving at the start of the season is number 2, and then he bought loads of coaches in, and it just looks silly on the bench because you just had load of coaches and Mark Robbins on his own kind of thing, and it was just all just disjointed. So hopefully now, we've got a bit of a base, and hopefully the consistency will come, because like I've said, that's it's a word that I've used loads this year, and it's being consistent. So hopefully that will change. Hadji Wright is probably going to be out for your game as well, to be fair.
That's good.
So we haven't got him, but we have got Bissett that's starting to shine a light on himself, and we've heard that Newcastle are sniffing about him, and he shows elements of Gyökeres basically. If you haven't seen him, I don't know, but he shows glimpses of Vic, and that's really good for us because obviously we know how good Vic was in our playoff year, and is. So let's get a prediction out of you then for the game on Saturday. What are you saying?
It's my hardest one yet because with it being Sayers' his first game in charge, I don't know who's going to play, what formation he's going to do. Yeah. But I'm going on the basis, and if any of you follow me on TikTok or see me on the podcast, I'm very pessimistic when it comes to City, especially this season. But I'm actually feeling positive about tomorrow's game. I think we'll get a good win against Watford. I think it'll kick off the Sayers era and a home win, get the fans behind him kind of thing, and go to Coventry and get a nice solid point. I think it'll be one of those where Cov have loads of chances and miss a lot, and then we get a bit of a dodgy goal, hold on to it, and Cov peggers back late on. So I'm going to go for 1-1.
Wow. Not a bad score, to be fair. Not a bad score.
It's a tendency between us both, to be fair. So it's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, it is. It is, to be fair. I'm a little bit more optimistic than I was probably before Millwall. Obviously, because we don't know how the new manager's going to be. We don't know if, them 6 losses are going to play into be in the players' minds slightly, maybe. We need a performance at home because we haven't had one in a while, to be fair. So I think we will concede a goal, but I think that we're going to have enough to just get past you. And I'm going to say 2-1 City win. Like you said, there's normally only one goal in it. But like you said, we need a performance at home. So I'm going to predict a 2-1 win, Cov. Right, so just before we finish up then, as the same as I do on all my podcasts, and obviously you've been on ours previously as well, so obviously slightly different questions, but these are the quick fire questions. Just 4 or 5 of them. If you can give me one-worded answers, that would be great, but don't worry if it goes into a sentence. I'm happy with that as well.
Yeah.
So the first one is, for you guys, a player to look out for.
Charlie Hughes.
Charlie Hughes. Where does he play?
He's our young centre-back we signed from Wigan. Absolutely phenomenal player. He's just like a Jacob Greaves regen. He's just, he'll be a Premier League player in 2 or 3 years. 100%.
Really? Excellent. Fantastic. Where will Cov finish?
12th.
Okay. Where will you finish?
19th.
Okay. One player from Cov you'd take?
Sims.
Okay. And I know it's early on, but Ruben Sellers.
Optimistic.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we let you go, can you just let us know what you do and where we can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm part of the All and Back podcast. You've probably seen us about online before. We go on various other channels and stuff and do a lot of collabs. So you can find us on YouTube. We do video content as well as your usual audio platforms like you guys will be on. I myself, I'm on TikTok if you ever want to have a laugh, especially I do a match day video and stuff. Literally at my name, at Northgrave. So if you want to watch a match day vid, probably of a Coventry win, then give us a follow on there. So yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. When we finish recording, don't shoot off. We'll have a quick chat after as well.
Yeah, no worries.
Right, just remember where you can find us, guys. We are on X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Go and like and subscribe. We are on podcasts as well. So if you listen to us and you don't watch us, go and rate us 5 stars on them podcasts as well. It is all appreciated, whatever platform that you do watch us on, and it is much appreciated as well. We're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications, and we're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena and here at the Sky Blue Tavern where I am tonight. It hasn't been that noisy, so that's been really good. Hopefully you haven't caught up too much of the background noise. So once again, good luck for the rest of the season, apart from obviously our games, especially on Saturday. But good luck for the rest of the season, and I hope you turn it around and the worst doesn't happen for you guys where you're sitting at the moment. Hopefully you can climb that table a little bit.
Thank you.
You've been a great guest again. Thanks, Ant, very much. And we'll speak to you soon. For everybody else, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for listening. Play up Sky Blues. And I haven't been prepared because I haven't turned it off. So I'll say that again. Play up Sky Blues.